What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. Today, we're going to be going through and updating those top 30 quarterback rankings for redraft fantasy football leagues. We did an update to this in July, but this is our August update. We've obviously had a lot of information in training camp, preseason, things like that. So we got to go through and update these for you guys as you get into those redraft fantasy football drafts. So that said, if this is your first time visiting the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But without wasting any more time, let's hop right into today's video and let's start talking about these top 30 quarterbacks. All right, so as you can see, I got the tier maker pulled up on the screen. I got 7 tiers to get through all 30 quarterbacks here in today's video. Not only did I put the number of the actual ranking next to each of these players, but as you can see, they're broken up in tiers to how I'm viewing these players if you are drafting them onto your fantasy football teams. Obviously, the guys at the top, those are the elite quarterback ones, and the guys down below at the very bottom, those are going to be those QB3s, just guys on the bench that do possess some risks. So hopefully that kind of deciphers how I'm viewing these players as far as plugging them into your lineup going into week 1, as well as the overall rank. So let's kick it off in tier 1. I have this tier with really just 2 players. For me, it's Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Lamar, he had the most top 12 quarterback weeks overall in a season, plus he had 900 rushing yards last year. I think he's ultimately just the fantasy football dual threat weapon at this point. Same with Josh Allen, though. 5 straight top 4 quarterback seasons overall, despite the lack of the elite weapons there in Buffalo. He just has an unmatched weekly ceiling. Neither of these guys need to be overthinked. I think both of these players are dominant assets and definitely worth the early quarterback pick if you are going to make one, because these guys can help win you your league. Going into tier 2, I do have 3 players in this tier. It's Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, and Jayden Daniels. Jalen Hurts obviously has the ability to push his way into a ton of rushing touchdowns, which is just game-breaking for fantasy football. That's not going to change here in 2025, and I think even if he has a low passing volume offense, which I do expect it to be a little bit more high passing volume this year, maybe not like elite numbers, but I think it'll take a step forward. He's going to be elite regardless. Joe Burrow, he was on a QB1 pace last year after week 9, obviously has an elite wide receiver duo in T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. He should be the same thing here this year. The defense is just going to be awful. He's going to be throwing the football a ton. And Jayden Daniels, obviously the rookie, going to be a dual threat option for you as well. Record-breaking season for him as a rookie. Expect that to grow a little bit here in year 2. We just need to see Terry McLaurin sign his contract, but I don't think that's going to go much further into the preseason. I think he'll have that taken care of by week 1. Tier 3, this is going to be the solid quarterback ones for me in fantasy. I have it as Bo Nix, Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, and Kyler Murray. Bo Nix had the second most rookie quarterback touchdowns ever, plus he has that rushing floor that he has every single week that gives him a little bit of a higher ceiling. He was already a steady quarterback one last year. I expect that to continue here in year 2 with a little bit of growth under Sean Payton. Patrick Mahomes, I think last year's bad performances really creates an opportunity for us to draft him a little bit cheaper in drafts this year. People are going to want to fade Mahomes, but I still think he's one of the better quarterbacks in football and is a prime bounce back candidate here in 2025. Baker Mayfield had an incredible year last year. 4,500 plus passing yards, 41 touchdowns in 2024. Still think he's in a loaded offense. Chris Godwin's not going to be there, but they added Emeka Egbuka. Should be kind of back to business. Some of the efficiencies might come down a little bit, but Baker Mayfield should still be a very solid quarterback one for fantasy. And then Kyler Murray is my last player in this tier, coming in at quarterback 9. He has top 5 upside each and every week. I think if the chemistry with Marvin Harrison Jr. increases and the rushing starts to ramp up a little bit more, the ceiling is sky high for Kyler Murray. So I'm still drafting him as a solid quarterback 1, despite last year's, inefficiencies with Marvin Harrison Jr. and this offense. Moving on to tier 4, this is going to be the low-end quarterback ones for me. I do have it as Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, and Justin Herbert. I think Dak Prescott is a perennial top 12 quarterback with a very favorable early quarterback schedule this year. Obviously, injuries shortened it in 2024, but it should be back to business for the Cowboys, who have also added George Pickens to this receiving core. Jared Goff, to me, 3 straight top 10 quarterback finishes. He has the elite yardage and the touchdown totals. Obviously, the question is going to be, how does this offense fare without Ben Johnson? I still think they're going to be one of the top 10 offenses in football. So give me Jared Goff as my quarterback 11. Jordan Love, I think he's going to be back in the quarterback 1 mix this year if that touchdown rate kind of rebounds in LaFleur's system. Obviously, they added a weapon in Matthew Golden as well. Jaden Reed in a boot right now, but I don't think that's going to linger too much into the regular season. We'll see what happens, though. We still need to gather some more information on that, but Jordan Love should be a top 12-ish type of quarterback for your fantasy football leagues. Brock Purdy, to me, very solid quarterback. I think he has a solid floor. There are some question marks, I think, right now as to what San Francisco is going into the season with. Juwan Jennings is missing time. Brandon Ayuk not expected back until mid-season. Ricky Pearsall was dealing with a hamstring injury, but he seems to be ready to go. The Niners are going to be trying to piece this puzzle together at the start of the year, but I think Brock Purdy has enough juice where he can flirt with these low-end QB1 numbers, despite some of the inefficiencies that I think this offense will have early on with some of the weapons missing. Justin Herbert is a player who kind of had a second half surge last year. Obviously, if the rushing keeps bumping up like it did last year, his ceiling is still going to be intact. We'll see what happens. They added Keenan Allen, should help the receiving a little bit more, but this is an offense that just wants to run the football, which is a detriment to Justin Herbert because of his big arm. We love the talent. We love the arm. Let's just see him use it a little bit more than they did last year. I just don't know if that's going to be the case. Moving down a tier to my quarterback twos with upside, I have a total of 6 quarterbacks in this tier. It's going to be Justin Fields, Caleb Williams, Drake May, JJ McCarthy, CJ Stroud, and Trevor Lawrence. Justin Fields has elite rushing upside. Obviously, that's his, trump card that he has as a player. I don't know how good he's going to be as a passer. That's always been the question with him. The weapons there are questionable outside of Garrett Wilson. We'll see if the rushing is enough to give him that QB1 upside, but that's why I have him as a QB2 with the upside of potentially giving you those QB1 weeks if he's running his ass off. Caleb Williams, to me, a player that had some growing pains last year. Obviously, the coaching staff didn't do him any favors. New coaching staff here with Ben Johnson, more weapons in the building. It's a make or break year kind of for Caleb Williams, and I expect him to take a step forward under Ben Johnson. Drake May is another player that has sneaky breakout potential. I think the rushing upside is tremendous with him. Also, he's had a little bit of an increase in weapons. Stephon Diggs, Kyle Williams, some of these other guys in the building. We'll see if it's enough to really make him transcend into that next level of quarterback, but overall, he should take a step forward and should be a very upside type of play for you in fantasy leagues. JJ McCarthy's kind of the same thing, right? Last year, missed some time. It was Sam Darnold. We saw Sam Darnold produce as a QB1 for fantasy. JJ McCarthy has more rushing upside than Darnold in a similar system here with Kevin O'Connell, with all of the weapons. This offense has just produced fantasy football production, and I'm making that bet with JJ McCarthy as well. CJ Stroud is very discounted in drafts right now, obviously because the touchdown efficiencies have come down in his second year. We kind of have the tale of two stories now. Rookie year CJ Stroud, sophomore CJ Stroud. Which one is truly the CJ Stroud that you're going to get? Tough for me to have a lot of confidence in him with how bad this offensive line is going to be here in 2025, but he still has some upside because we've seen him be an elite passer before. He just needs the variance to bounce the other way, opposite of what it did in 2024. And Trevor Lawrence is the last player for me here as my QB20. I think he's a high upside swing for you in a potentially upgraded offense with Liam Cohen. Obviously, Travis Hunter added as well. We need to see him take a step forward. He's kind of the last of this tier, the one I'm the least confident in, but overall has the upside, and you can see a pathway to better production under Liam Cohen. Tier 6, going to be those fringe quarterback twos, low-end QB2s, however you want to view them. For me, it's Michael Penix Jr. coming in at 21, Tua Tagovailoa at 22, Bryce Young, and Geno Smith to round out this tier. Penix, he has a big arm. He has a lot of deep threats on this offense with Darnell Mooney, with guys like Drake London. Kyle Pitts still in the mix here as well. I think he's going to be a very volatile low-end QB2 because he doesn't possess any rushing upside whatsoever, but those days that he has big passing days, long passing touchdowns, things like that, he will have some variance and be able to be a viable QB2 for you. Tua, I think he's a very accurate quarterback. He is limited though by the low depth of target that they have in this offense. There is no rushing upside with him too, and there is injury risk. Did Tyreek fall off a cliff? Maybe, maybe not. We'll see what happens this year. If Tyreek doesn't bounce back, Tua's going to have a hard time bouncing back as well. Bryce Young had a late season surge last year under Dave Canales. He kind of hints at some breakout potential again here with the addition of Teteroa McMillan in this offense. Should see a step forward from Bryce Young. If we don't, maybe this is just kind of where he is as a player, a good, not great quarterback at the NFL level. But overall, I think Bryce Young, there are signs pointing towards a potential breakout. He's an interesting player, but nobody that I'm banking my fantasy football season on in 2025. And then Geno Smith, a very solid quarterback too. I think if the touchdown rate kind of rebounds in an upgraded offense here for the Las Vegas Raiders under Pete Carroll again, he could be a potential value on the board, but it's hard to really paint a ton of upside with a guy like Geno Smith because, again, not a lot of rushing upside. The offense outside of Brock Bowers is still questionable. Jacoby Myers is fine, but it's going to be a questionable team here in Las Vegas, and the offensive line is pretty bad. And now moving on to my last and final tier, let's look at the QB3s with risk. Obviously, Matthew Stafford has moved down from the fringe QB2s into the QB3s for me in this update. Obviously, that is because of injury concerns with the back. It is very scary, to say the least. It's there's not a lot of optimism that I have about his back at this moment in time. The information seems to be very wishy-washy. I just don't really know what to believe, and it's starting to kind of give me, bad vibes, bad memories of Christian McCaffrey early 2024. We kept hearing, oh, he should be good to go. Maybe he's all right. Maybe this, maybe that. And then Christian McCaffrey obviously wasn't good to go. It's kind of giving me that vibe for Matthew Stafford, but hey, we'll see what happens. Regardless, he was still kind of just a safe floor streaming option, had very little week winning upside. The touchdown touchdown numbers have come down for Stafford over the last couple of years. They use, guys like Kyren Williams in the red zone. He's a QB3, and he has some risk here this year. Now, that said, Cam Ward, a very raw rookie prospect. I think he has some long-term upside, but in 2025, I don't know how good he's going to be in this offense that is, lacking a lot of weapons. Sam Darnold had a 2024 breakout. I think it's very unlikely to repeat. This offense is going to be a little bit more run-heavy in Seattle than the one in Minnesota was as a pass-friendly offense. We'll see if he can do enough to stay viable, but it's just not the same situation as it was a year ago. Aaron Rodgers is a player coming in at 28. I think the ceiling is very capped for Rodgers. This is a run-first offense, a very weak wide receiver core. I don't expect this to be a good team overall, and I don't think Aaron Rodgers has much left overall either. He's just a player that I'm probably not going to be spending draft picks on this season. Russell Wilson's another player I probably won't be drafting. He's a bridge QB, has very minimal rushing upside as well. Not the same Russell Wilson that we had a decade ago for the Seattle Seahawks, but this is also projected to be a bottom tier roster. Outside of Malik Neighbors, point me to the best player on this team. You probably couldn't tell me. That does bring in our last guy, Daniel Jones. He moves into the list. He wasn't on the last list as a top 30 option. Really, I think it's just pointing a little bit more towards Daniel Jones could win this job as the quarterback one in Indianapolis going into week 1. He's going to have a very short leash though. There is some rushing upside with Daniel Jones, but I'm not super confident that he is going to play 17 games, nor do we even really know at this point in time whether he's going to be the week 1 starter. That's just my hunch at this point in time. So there you have it. That is my updated top 30 quarterback rankings in August as we're approaching the start of the NFL season. As always, if this is your first time at the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you tell us in the comments down below what you like about this video. Maybe anything you disagree with, agree with, let me know. Also, go join our free Discord. We do have a free Discord linked in the description. But with all of that out of the way, I have nothing else for you guys today. So I'll see you on our next episode. Until then, peace out.